Hey everyone, good to see you here. Let me ask you, did you know that since 1976 there have been about 20 funding gaps in the US budget process, but only around half of those actually turned into full shutdowns where large numbers of federal workers were furloughed? And here's the part that surprises a lot of people. Every single time it happens, the effects ripple out far beyond Washington. We're talking about paychecks, services, and everyday life being thrown off balance. It's not just a headline on the news. It's something that can touch your family, your neighbors, or even you. So stick around with me because understanding how this works and what it really means can help you feel a little more prepared for this. Before we get too far, let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever personally felt the effects of a shutdown, like waiting longer for something you needed or maybe knowing someone who missed a paycheck? I'd love for you to share that in the comments. It really helps others see they're not alone. So let's start with what exactly a shutdown even is. The government runs on money that Congress has to approve each year. Think of it like paying the electric bill. If you don't pay, the lights go out. In this case, if lawmakers can't agree on a spending bill, funding stops for what's called non-essential operations. That doesn't mean the whole government disappears, but it does mean a lot of things grind to a halt. Now, what does this mean in real terms? Well, for federal workers and members of the military, it often means missed paychecks. Many of them are still considered essential, which means they must continue to show up for duty even while their pay is delayed. Think about TSA agents at the airport, air traffic controllers, border agents, or firefighters on military bases. The work continues, but the paycheck may not show up on time. Imagine doing a tough, stressful job like keeping the skies safe and not knowing when your paycheck is coming. That's the reality during these periods. And it doesn't stop there. If you're wondering about Social Security, Medicare, or veterans' health benefits, those still continue because they're funded separately. But here's the catch. The people who answer phones, fix errors, or process new applications may be furloughed. That means delays. So yes, your check still comes, but if something goes wrong with it, good luck getting it fixed quickly. Food assistance programs are another area that gets hit. SNAP, which provides food help to millions of households, usually has some cushion for a few weeks, but if the shutdown drags on, funding can run out. WIC, which helps women, infants, and children with nutrition, is at even greater risk. That's not just numbers on a chart, that's groceries in a cart or not. And for families already on tight budgets, even a small interruption can cause real stress. Now, health services are also affected. The Department of Health and Human Services and other agencies typically furlough tens of thousands of workers. That means places like the National Institutes of Health slow down new patient admissions, and the FDA pauses food safety inspections and drug approvals unless it's an emergency. Fewer inspectors on the job checking what's on store shelves. It's one of those invisible things we don't notice day to day, but when it stops, risks creep in. What about education and travel? Federal student aid payments keep flowing so students don't lose out on grants or loans, but most of the staff that support those systems are sent home. And if you've ever been to an airport, you know how stressful it can be already. During shutdowns, air traffic controllers and TSA officers keep working, but training programs and equipment upgrades pause. In a last long shutdown, some workers called out sick because they weren't being paid, and that caused big delays across airports nationwide. It's another reminder that even if essential services keep going, the strain builds quickly. And speaking of strain, let's not forget the courts. Federal courts often rely on reserve funds to keep cases moving for a short time. But if the shutdown drags on, they cut back to just the basics, which slows down cases in immigration, civil rights, and beyond. For the people waiting on decisions, it's more time in limbo. One of the most visible signs of a shutdown are the national parks. Sometimes they close entirely, other times they stay open but unstaffed. When that happens, trash piles up, bathrooms stay locked, and sadly, there's often vandalism or damage. During the last shutdown, when parks stayed open, there were reports of trees being cut down illegally and even historical sites being damaged. It's a small example, but it shows how fragile public services are when funding stops. Now, here's a common misconception. People often ask, does the mail stop? The answer is no. The Postal Service funds itself through postage and fees, so your letters and packages still arrive. Same with passport services. Though, if the office is inside a government building that's closed, you might run into delays. And at this point, you might be wondering, why does this keep happening? Shutdowns happen when politicians use the budget deadline as leverage. Right now, for example, the fight is over healthcare spending tied to tax changes under President Trump. Democrats want to keep Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies and protect Medicaid funding, while Republicans say spending has to be capped. Neither side wants to look like they gave in. And so the standoff continues. Some see it as recalibrating government. Others see it as reckless. This strategy has been used more and more often over the last few decades as polarization in politics has gotten stronger. Historically, shutdowns used to be shorter, lasting just a few days. The longest one ever was 35 days back in 2018 and 2019, also under Trump. That dragged on for over a month with federal workers lining up at food banks and small businesses missing out on government loans they needed to survive. The longer these go on, the harder it is for people and companies to bounce back. Unlike workers who eventually get back pay, contractors and small businesses often lose that money forever. Another thing to consider is the personal toll on federal employees. Imagine being told to keep showing up for your job knowing you won't get paid on time. That's happened to firefighters on military bases, border agents, even Secret Service members. One firefighter described it as being asked to run into a burning building without gear. It's not just about money. It's about dignity and feeling like your work is valued. And also, there's the bigger picture of trust. Every time the government shuts down, people lose a little more confidence in the system. When you can't get through on a phone line, when your national park is closed, when flights are delayed, it chips away at the sense that government is supposed to serve the people. And the more often it happens, the harder it is to rebuild that trust. So, what does all of this mean for you? If you rely on Social Security, Medicare, or food programs, your benefits should still arrive, but delays and errors could be more common. If you're a traveler, you may want to plan for longer wait times at airports. If you're in school, your aid continues, but support services may take longer to respond. And if you're a federal worker, you already know how stressful it is. The impacts vary, but they touch more parts of life than most people realize. The current administration says these shutdowns can be a way to force hard choices to trim what they call bloated programs. Critics say it's sabotage, plain and simple. Either way, the result is the same for regular people: disruption and uncertainty. And here's the part that stings. Every shutdown ends the same way it begins, with a deal. The real question is always how long it takes and how much damage is done in the meantime. So no, this isn't just politics as usual. It's more than that. It's about livelihoods, stability, and trust. Every time it happens, it reminds us just how connected we all are to the decisions being made in those halls of Congress. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. What do you think is the hardest part of government shutdown? The missed paychecks, the closed services, or just the uncertainty of not knowing? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next update. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you soon.